Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing an indie comic book review for the prose novel, actually, of Comic Book Fever. Now, the author actually contacted me to do a review for this. It took me a couple of weeks to do just because it is a prose novel, so it takes me a little longer to read, A, just because of time, and B, because it's longer than a regular comic. So I wanted to talk about this, and this is a book that actually tells the story of comics between like the 1970s decade to the 1980s, or late 1970s to pretty much all the 80s. So it's an interesting book, which I would call more of a scholar book. It's definitely more of a research book of telling about the comic book industry at this time. And what I really like what this book did, I expected it just to be like a Marvel DC type thing. It's like, oh, let's talk about the mainstream comics. But no, we actually do get to see other comic companies added here, and other, obviously, just the indie comic book industry added. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has a chapter in here, so it's kind of cool that it's not just Marvel and DC. I would really like to see other decades done too, because I feel like I learned a lot from this book, and I think that's obviously why I would suggest a book like this, is that you do learn a lot about the industry at the time, and obviously there's a lot of research here. It's very much, like I said, more of a scholar book that you can kind of use as a reference if you're writing a comic book paper or something. It very much reminded me of that. But yeah, I feel like you can always learn more about the comic book industry and kind of ins and outs of it, and just more of someone else's idea of analysis of the comic book industry. So I thought it was really interesting, and I definitely recommend you guys get Comic Book Fever. So pick it up at your local comic book store, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, like Father Like Daughter, and don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.